Yo, ladies and gentlemen, let me tap in with y'all real quick, man. I hope you guys have been having a great day. Shout out to those who came out to the live this week, man. It was beautiful. It was awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming out. We're going to do some pre-uploads for the rest of this week, so stay tuned. But I want to drop this little live that we did today. It's basically covering all the injuries that Corey sustained under the rule of his father, Mr. Christopher Gregor. We have the medical examiner over here basically breaking everything down. And it's a pretty interesting one. So sit back, grab the things you guys need, man. Let's check this thing out.
Please have a seat. Doctor, would you state your full name and spell your last name?
Thomas A. Andrew, A-N-D-R-E-W.
So much.
Good morning, doctor. Can you tell the jurors what type of doctor you are?
I'm a forensic pathologist.
Doctor, I'm now going to show you what has been marked S49 for identification purposes. And do you recognize that?
I do.
Can you tell the jurors
sorry.
what that is?
This is what appears to be the most recent iteration of my curriculum vitae, my qualifications.
And would that aid your testimony today?
Sure.
And about how many times have you testified?
It's in the low three figures.
Damn.
Doctor, were you contacted by the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office in regard to the decedent, Corey Michelot?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors why you were contacted?
I received initial contact from the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office in September of 2021. They asked me to review material related to the death of Corey Michelot with an eye toward rendering an opinion as to cause and manner of death.
Now, doctor, did you prepare reports in regard to your findings and opinions regarding this matter?
I did.
Your Honor, if I may approach counsel?
Yes.
I'm now showing you what has been marked S50, S51, and S52. Do you recognize those?
I do.
And can you tell the jurors what those are?
S51,
Are those your reports in this matter?
yes.
And would those reports aid in your testimony today?
Yes.
Now, did you perform the autopsy of Corey?
No.
Can you tell the jurors who performed the autopsy?
Dr. Ragasa, Dante, I believe is his first name, Dante Ragasa, of the Ocean County Medical Examiner's Office, performed the autopsy examination on Corey.
And when was the autopsy performed?
Autopsy was performed in April of 2021. Let me see what the specific date was. On the 3rd of April, 2021.
And did you review the autopsy report authored by Dr. Ragasa?
I did.
And what other materials did you review to formulate the basis for your opinions?
In addition to the autopsy report, I saw the images that were generated in association with the autopsy. And I examined the histological slides, and we'll talk about those momentarily. The slides that you look at under the microscope. So I looked at that. And then I had medical records from 3 different hospital facilities. I believe it's County Medical Center and Jersey Shore Medical Center and South Ocean. I saw medical records from Ivy Pediatrics, which were Corey's pediatric care provider. Certainly I saw police documentation, law enforcement documentation. I saw some telephone records. I had access to a video.
So basically, he's just looking at all the records, like his past, his present. And I bet you it paints a nice full picture. Just like, oh, he strangely was bleeding this day, or his arm was strangely dislocated the other day. I bet you they have some records. I'm not sure, but he's saying he went through all his pediatric paperwork. So he was hunting for something.
Of Corey on a treadmill. And
Wait.
so records. I had access to a video of Corey on a treadmill. And subsequent to issuing my first report, I received additional materials. I did receive
What's up,
an
Mary
expert
Frederick?
report from an infectious disease specialist, Dr. Feingold, and a report from a defense pathologist expert, Dr. Bodden.
Did you also review video from April 2nd of 2021 from the decedent's mother's phone occurring around 9 a.m.?
Indeed, I did, yes.
You also reviewed autopsy photos.
Yes.
Do you have an opinion after you
Thank you,
reviewed
Vanessa.
all of this material in regard to the decedent's cause of death?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors what that opinion is?
I'm simply going to quote from my report because it's a mouthful, and we'll break it down. But Corey died of blunt impact injuries of the chest and abdomen with laceration of the heart, left pulmonary contusion, and laceration and contusion of the liver.
And can you explain to the jurors when you say cause of death? what does that
Laceration
mean?
and contusion of the liver and his heart. So basically, his heart was fucked up and his liver. So imagine it's not because he was running, you know, and his heart popped. That's what I thought at first. Well, not popped, but his heart couldn't handle the stress and it damaged his heart. He had like a heart attack. The kid literally got body slammed into the wall or some shit. Blunt force to the, what did he say, to the chest, and then contusions to the liver. Ventricle of the heart somewhere popped open. That's you getting slammed against the wall or some shit. So let's continue.
Cause of death is, I mean, it sounds simple enough, but it's something that's very specific. Cause of death is the disease or injury or combination of those things that initiates what's ultimately a lethal train of events, and without which death would not have occurred. So there are many, many, many causes of death.
And what about blunt force trauma? Can you explain to the jurors what that means?
In forensic pathology, there are various kinds of external forces that can act on the body. There could be penetrating trauma, such as that from gunshot wounds or stab wounds, or there can be blunt impact injury. And in that situation, you have force applied to the body over a much broader area than a single bullet or blade would cause.
It was from falling on his chest on the treadmill so many times. Are you sure it's that? I don't think it was that. I mean, kids fall down all the fucking time. Kids are durable. I think he kicked them, slammed them, did some crazy shit. Somebody else said he kicked them. I'm not exactly sure what the exact cause was to damage him that much, but I highly doubt it was him falling on the damn treadmill. I feel like he must have been, he must have been hurt, like hit somehow, like a man. And remember, the kid is 6 years fucking old, so it's like you get smacked in the chest, your bones are just gonna squish along with it. It's not protecting nothing. Your chest is not protecting nothing, you know what I mean? So
Blunt impact could be a small area or a large area, but it produces a different kind of
the
injury.
mother made over 100 reports of bruising, scraping all over the. Yep, she did. Literally over 100. That shows that the function of CPS is dog shit.
Than penetrating trauma does. And the kinds of injuries associated with blunt impact include contusions or bruising of the skin or internal organs, lacerations, tearing of tissue because of the result of the blunt force applied to it, or fracture of bone.
And what affects blunt force trauma and the impact on the body?
Well, the impact can be anything from minor to life-threatening. If you get up in the middle of the night in a strange hotel room and hit your shin against a nightstand, that may raise a contusion. But all that is bleeding under the surface of the skin, and that will resolve over time, and that will be fine. If you were to fall against that nightstand, you might sustain a laceration of your scalp. That may require stitches, but likewise you would recover from that. If you sustain any of these kinds of blunt impact injuries with sufficient severity, it could conceivably bring about your death if they were severe enough.
Look at his fucking face. Oh, that's so terrible. I'm so sorry. That's so bad. Like, who would? It's like, bro, you're a fucking dumbass. And the way his expression the whole trial is like, bro, get a different expression, because this is not what you should. Like, I keep saying he's trying to look sad, even though he's just angry about everything. Who knows why? But yeah, he just gives me like this angry little gym rat, douchebag type of guy, type of energy. What's up, Millie? Yeah, no, he's annoying. Hey, G in chat. What's up, Chris? Jennifer? Hello, all in AG. What's up, Suzanne?
After reviewing the materials in this case, did you formulate an opinion as to the decedent's manner of death?
I did.
And can you tell the jurors what your opinion is?
Corey's manner of death is homicide. While there are many, many, many causes of death, typically in forensic pathology, there are only 5 manners of death. And manner of death is simply a one-word description to explain how a death came about. And those 5 are natural, accident, homicide, or in rare instances, undetermined. In Corey's case, in that these injuries could not have been inflicted by himself with any
straight up
kind
homicide,
of intent, bro. It's certainly not suicide.
See, that makes it easy too. So you can't get it twisted when it comes to like getting somebody arrested, putting somebody in jail. It's either one of the 5, buddy. Suicide, homicide. Which one of the sides? And it just makes it clear cut. Homicide. You killed him. He couldn't do that himself. Simple as that.
These injuries, given their pattern and distribution, are consistent with having been inflicted by another person. Therefore, any death that is related to the actions of another person is, from a medical examiner standpoint, from an epidemiological or public health standpoint, homicide. Now, it doesn't have any legal significance, but that's the way that a medical examiner certifies it. So Corey's death was at the hands of another person, therefore it is a homicide.
Does a case histology impact the determination of manner of death?
Well, it can in certain instances. If you have a gunshot wound to the head with a perforation of the skull and brain, histology or examining tissue under the microscope doesn't add a whole lot. But in a case like this, certainly the examination of the tissues under the microscope was helpful in reaching my conclusions.
Did you make any findings regarding Corey's medical records from Southern Ocean Medical Center on April 2nd of 2021?
And I'm going to ask you to clarify that a little bit, because I'm not entirely certain what the question is.
Did you review the medical records from Southern Ocean Medical Center on April 2nd of 2021?
Yes.
You can tell he's been to court a lot. He wants everything to be done properly. Repeat that. No, let me break this down for you in a few steps. You know what I mean? Because it's a mouthful. So this means that, and that means this. He knows what he's doing. That's how, and that's gonna translate over to the that's gonna translate to the jury also. They're gonna feel that because he's been here before. He kind of runs the way he responds too. He's gonna be like, no, let me do this instead and explain it to you this way. Like, so yeah, everybody's gonna feel that, and everything he says basically past this point, I feel like, you know, that's why they start things with showing, you know, your credentials, because everything past this point now, he's got him. They're gonna believe him. You know, their expert is gonna go across well because, you know, he just seems very understanding of the entire situation. So that's why certain witnesses suck and certain witnesses are good. Like the CPS guy, that guy was ass. And I think that was on another case for Montgomery. I'm getting my cases mixed up. But same. You know, when the CPS guy went up there, he sucked. He had to refer to his notes every time. He seemed unsure. It seemed like, you know what I mean? It seemed like even if he gave us an answer, it still is. It's like 50-50 because we don't know. This guy's memory's not too good. This guy, on the other hand, there's no question on it. He's either full of shit or he's either a professional. And this guy clearly is coming off like a professional. But let's continue. I just want to point that out.
Yes, I reviewed those records from April 2nd.
And can you tell the jurors if that helped to formulate your opinion as to cause and manner of death?
It did, yes.
And can you explain why?
Well, Corey presented to Southern Ocean at around 3 o'clock. At that point, he was already in serious medical condition. He was ashen, gray, in a shock-like state, and was fairly medically unstable. There was an attempt to make an assessment as to what might have been going on with him by doing a CT scan, and he got worse in the CT scanner.
And doctor, did you review any blood work from that hospital?
Yes.
And did that impact your conclusions?
Yes.
And what about any post-mortem CT scans?
He had a post-mortem CT scan. I don't find those of particular value, certainly compared to an autopsy, as to determining cause and manner of death. But I did see that there was a post-mortem CT scan, and I looked at its result.
Did you review the medical records from Jersey Shore Medical Center the evening of April 1st of 2021?
I did.
And can you tell the jurors about that?
Well, that particular visit was at the end of a sequence of events wherein Corey initially was seen by his pediatrician. There were some concerns about these bruises that Corey had as to whether or not this represented some mistreatment or child abuse. So Corey was referred to the emergency room, and I believe Corey and his mom went to one, but then they went to Jersey Shore after that. At that examination, he had a physical done, and they documented the various bruises that he had on different parts of his body, none of which were life-threatening. His clinical status at the time was perfectly stable. He was normal. He was conversational. He spoke.
Hold on. I'm reading the chat. I missed something real quick. I need to pay attention to, because the doctor said at one point that his bruises, his contusions, and like the medical way of saying it, all that shit. He was saying that most of them weren't life-threatening. He had said that before. I just want to make sure I understand what he's saying.
So Corey was referred to the emergency room, and I believe Corey and his mom went to one, but then they went to Jersey.
Oh, that's when he had his mom. Mom testified about this already.
Or after that.
So this is before he died.
Examination, he had a physical done, and they documented the various bruises that he had on different parts of his body, none of which were life-threatening. His clinical status at the time was perfectly stable. He was normal. He was conversational. He spoke with the doctor. He gave history.
Hold on, let me take my hair out. My hair is messy. That's why.
They also did some blood work and an x-ray of his chest, and all of that was completely normal.
Did you review the findings from Dr. Ragasa's autopsy performed on April 3rd of 2021?
I'm going to cut it at some
And
point.
can you tell the jurors what Dr. Ragasa's findings were?
So Dr. Regasa received...
Like, come on, fake hair? Come on now. This shit took like 6 fucking years. I would never put in a fucking Weave. That shit is so fucking corny to me. That shit is mad fucking corny. I don't know. Grown ass dudes with fucking extensions in their hair. It's like, I mean, it's like, do you? Get on your Jimmy Butler if you feel like it, but I don't. I mean, just know that some people are judging you. I'm not gonna judge you, but as Theo Vaughn would say, other people might be judging you. So I don't know. That's my opinion on it. I had mine for 15 years. Hey, shout out Simona. Yeah, when it's time to go, it's time to go. I'm not gonna cut them now, but they do get mad annoying when I go to sleep. So.
Well, the body was taken to the medical examiner's office, I believe, the night before, but Dr. Ragasa performed his examination on the 3rd and documented
My hair be messy as shit, though. That's why I always have it in the do-rag.
That were on various aspects of Corey's body. Those were the primary external findings that he had. But an autopsy
it's decent. It's messy.
Is a very detailed surgical examination of not only the external aspect of the body, but the internal aspect as well. There's a large Y-shaped incision made from the shoulders to the middle of the chest and down the center of the body, allowing the pathologist to take a systematic examination of each of the organ systems. It was during that internal examination that Dr. Ragasa saw and documented several abnormalities. There was a contusion of one of Corey's lungs, I believe it was the left lung. Examination of Corey's heart externally didn't show anything, but on the internal examination of the heart, after the heart was opened to reveal the chambers of the heart, a laceration or tear in the tissue was revealed near the apex or the tip of the heart, on the inside wall of the heart. Below the diaphragm is that flat muscle that divides your chest organs from your abdominal organs.
And even the puncture to the lung, or the contusion to the lung, I feel like that wasn't even life-threatening. What was life-threatening was his heart and that laceration in the heart. And, your heart's pumping all the blood through your body. That's that's the system right there. So if that starts bleeding and your different valves start to flood out, you know what I'm saying? And the heart doesn't have any more pressure. Isn't that what causes a heart attack? Something like that. But anyways, I'm not a doctor. But if your heart loses fucking pressure, I think you're fucked. His lungs filled with blood, I think. Still yet, I think, still yet, I feel like even if his lungs filled up with blood and liquid, whatever, he still would have been okay. They would have drained him. They would have hooked him up. But if your heart is fucked, you know what I'm saying? It's over with.
Below the diaphragm, on the right side where the liver lives, there were 2 injuries that he documented. There was a laceration or tear in the liver tissue on the right edge, the right lateral aspect of the liver, and there was also a contusion.
What's up, Gerda?
Or bleeding underneath the capsule of the liver on the front edge of the liver. There was a small amount of free blood in the floor of the pelvis, undoubtedly associated with the liver laceration.
Now, doctor, did you review slides which were prepared in conjunction with the autopsy?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the jurors what the slides are?
This was what I was referring to when I used that term histological. These are not slides like old 35 millimeter photographic slides. This is something different. During the internal part of the examination in an autopsy, small tissue samples of areas that look normal or abnormal can be taken, and then they are processed by a laboratory such that they're cut in very, very thin slices and floated onto a glass slide. That tissue is then stained with specific kinds of stains that allow the pathologist to then see the cells under the microscope.
But what does that do
So
for you?
I did see a higher set of histological slides that Dr. Ragasa had prepared in conjunction with his autopsy.
Did you also review autopsy images?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors specifically what image 151 depicted?
Image 151 was of a pulmonary contusion, meaning
What's up, Brosi?
a blunt injury of the lung associated with bleeding. Now, there was a picture of it. It's obviously that you can see. It's obvious that you can see it. It does not appear in his narrative description, but it's depicted in the photographs.
And can you tell the jury about image 153?
Well, I'll have to refer to my report on
Yes,
that.
doctor, if you could.
See, now I understand that he needs to go to his report. This is some scientific medical shit. The other guy couldn't even answer like what date. Well, okay, dates I understand is hard, but the other the CPS guy couldn't even remember what he wrote down, like just general things about the household. Now, granted, I know you have a lot of kids you have to deal with or a lot of households, but it's like, bro, get it the fuck together.
Oh, 153 was a picture of the free blood that was in the pelvis.
Can you tell the jurors about images 163 through 170, please?
Those were various views from different angles of the liver injuries.
And what about images 172 through 178?
Those depicted injuries in different parts of the body. 172 to 75 were hemorrhage in the retroperitoneal tissue. Sorry about the jargon, but I mean, that's where it was. What is that? The abdomen is lined by a lining called peritoneum.
Okay.
Retroperitoneum means bleeding underneath the peritoneum, and this was toward the back of, where the backbone is. 76 to 78 was similarly hemorrhage. It was contusion, and it was in the area of his left ninth rib. That may well be what was associated. That trauma on that side may well be what was associated with the contusion of the lung itself on that side. And then, yes, so that takes us up to 178.
Okay, doctor. And did you
I'm really starting to think these
review-
people need to get the same as what they handed out. No, I feel like, yeah, bring back the firing squad. You know what's crazy? The firing squad was still legal in the United States until like the 90s or some shit. Firing squad. Let me see. What should I search? Final firing squad USA. It was like some hella recent shit. Holy shit. It wasn't even, no, it was 2010. It wasn't even in the 90s. Ronnie Lee Gardner was the last person to be executed by firing squad in the United States on June 18, 2010 at a Utah State prison. Gardner was convicted of killing an attorney during his courthouse escape attempt. The execution was the first by firing squad in 14 years, and the case generated media attention, debate over capital punishment, and questions about Gardner's childhood. Gardner said he chose the firing squad because of his Mormon. Oh, he chose it. He chose it. Nah, but yeah, do some firing squad shit. Do some dope ass shit. Do some just do some crazy shit to them, bro. They don't deserve to be euthanized all pleasantly, bro. Fuck all that shit. I'm gonna get some water. My voice is going. My voice is leaving me.
196 through 200.
Yes.
And can you tell us about those?
These images were, I should preface this. I explained when I was talking about when an autopsy is approached in general, how you do that incision in the front. In cases where it is important to do the death of somebody in police custody, for example, or in this case, a potential child abuse case. You do a similar examination of the back. So you turn the body over, and an incision is made along the midline of the back, and that skin is reflected so that you can see the muscles of the back. These images, 96 to 200, or excuse me, 196 to 200, depicted soft tissue hemorrhage or contusions along the spine or the backbone that you could not see necessarily on the surface of the skin. There were certainly contusions on Corey's back, but there were also contusions that did not correlate with deep contusions that didn't correlate with contusions that were on the skin.
Can you tell the jurors about the myocardial laceration depicted
All right,
in
guys.
image
We're locked in.
0205?
We're
Yes,
locked in.
and this is complicated. So you all remember from high school biology, right? The heart has these 4 chambers, the 2 upper chambers and the 2 lower chambers. On looking at Corey's heart from the outside, all that could be seen was an epicardial contusion on the front of the heart. The epicardium is just the lining of the outside of the heart. So he has a visible contusion on the outside of the heart. But it wasn't until the heart was opened in such a way that you could see inside each of the chambers that this laceration was revealed. On the left ventricle, which is the lower left chamber of the heart, that's the muscular one, that's the one that pumps blood out to the rest of the body.
Drive safe,
There was a
drive
tear
safe.
in the tissue.
Shout out
Dr.
Lisa,
Agasa
y'all.
described it as about 1.5 inches, and that comports with the photograph. A horizontally oriented tear near the tip. Looked at the skin, or underneath the skin, there was a contusion on the top of his head and a couple of contusions on the back side of his scalp that you couldn't see on the surface.
Doctor, did you make any findings regarding bruising on the decedent's body, which was significant in regard to your formulation of your opinion?
Well, in assessing the potential for child abuse, it's not so much that contusions are life-threatening in and of themselves.
This is the part. This is where he kind of explains that the kid had multiple injuries. That's pretty much why they couldn't save him.
But it's the pattern and distribution of injuries, and also the presence of injuries of varying ages that suggest that a child has been mistreated. And Corey had contusions over a wide area of his body of varying ages, from under his chin, his head, his trunk, his extremities.
Yeah, see?
There was one fairly large one just on the left side of his chest that looked to be fairly large, and that had been previously assessed. And particularly the presence of contusions on the back without
Any
a
explanation.
pretty clear-cut explanation.
See? Without any explanation. Why the fuck does he have a slash across his back? Oh, I don't know. He fell over. Like, kids don't just get fucked up on their back out of nowhere. You're hit, slammed, slashed with something. You know what I'm saying? I knew he was going to say that because that shit's not normal. Kids get hurt in the face. You know, they knock their heads. You know, they fuck their heads up a lot. They fuck their knees up. You know what I'm saying? But the back, come on, what are they doing on their back?
It's
Wrestling?
not diagnostic of abuse, but it's very suggestive of abuse, certainly given the company that it's keeping. So my concern was not so much with the severity of the bruising, but the pattern and distribution of the bruising as being suggestive of child abuse.
Doctor, did you make any findings regarding the decedent's liver?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury?
Well, as I said, there were 2 injuries. One of them was fairly minor. It was on the front edge of the liver, and it was a contusion.
High work call.
That's not particularly
AG
uncommon.
Library. Hey,
after
what's up,
CPR.
Jim? Welcome back.
But there was a second, more significant injury and that was out on the right side, the right lateral edge of the liver. It was described as a superficial contusion, but the photos clearly show that it's a contusion that goes fairly deeply into the liver tissue itself. And under the microscope, this was not a super fresh injury, so this was not an injury that could be attributed to CPR. So those are the two findings.
Injury to the
Involving the
liver that
liver.
was already there.
Doctor, were you able?
He looks so shocked every time. Every time this guy is such a fucking punk. Every time you see his face, he looks so shocked about what's going on. Almost like he's the victim. Like, if you were to put his face in the stand as the father watching the victim father, you would think this was the victim father. The father who was a victim of the whole attacking. That's the face he's giving. He's like, he's angry. Why, bro? It's always this face. They're gonna fuck him up in prison. I hope they do. I hope the Aryan Brotherhood or whoever the fuck, they don't accept him, because I know you have to click up in prison. That's typically what I feel like happens. I hope they don't accept him, and I hope they fuck his shit up. And they tattoo child abuser on his forehead or something. Do something drastic to his ass. I don't know.
To formulate an opinion as to the time frame when these blunt force trauma injuries were inflicted?
Only in a general sense, giving a range of time. To dispense with the contusions first, many of them were sampled under the microscope, and many of them were pretty much all healed, or mostly healed. You could see something.
So what is that telling you? He was getting fucked up on the regular. He was kind of just used to it, probably. He was like, oh, dad's being belligerent again. Oh, shit, I'm on the floor bleeding again. Fuck. Hopefully he leaves me alone now. Like, I feel like kid was already used to it. I mean, we don't even have to feel like he's telling us kid was used to it. There's healed contusions all over his body. Yeah.
On the surface of the skin, but not much going on underneath it. Other than to say on my gross inspection of these bruises, they appeared to be of varying age. That's as far as my opinion regarding the bruising. The internal injuries, on the other hand, have a little more objective evidence to offer in terms of timing. And the basis for that is something called the inflammatory response. So what does that mean?
What does that mean,
When
doctor?
tissue is injured, there is a fairly predictable sequence of events that occurs in the body's attempt to repair itself. That's what inflammation is, or one type of inflammation. So that inflammatory process involves the appearance of certain kinds of repair cells to the area of injury at a fairly predictable time, within a fairly predictable time frame. So I examined both and I did not generate new slides. These were slides that were done at the time of the original autopsy. So slides of the heart injury and slides of the liver injury. And in both of those injuries, there was a fairly well-established acute inflammatory process there. Though the cells that make up the acute response are called,
What's up, Bruce? I'm doing good.
They have a name. They're called polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Wow. Let's just call them polys. So polys are recruited to the scene within hours after an injury like this. The second wave of inflammatory cells are called mononuclear cells. Those were pretty rare. I only saw those here and there. After that, And those, take up to like 24 hours to get there. And then after 24 hours, you actually start to see some attempt to heal the tissue. Fibrins laid down, and you see other cells.
He's really breaking this down scientifically. I didn't even know. But yeah, obviously your body is just a whole machine connected to a computer, which is why Neuralink works, which is crazy to think about. Elon Musk created Neuralink, shoved it in somebody's fucking head, and it works. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? This is like the reverse lobotomy. It's like they're adding function. Now they're cracking into your skull and giving you function. But anyways, it's so when they tell you what time, what day, what year, they really know this shit because this is like scientifically broken down. It's crazy. It's fascinating, man. I could never do it, but to the men and the women who are able to do this shit, shout them out. Because I could never do it, bro. Chop you up, open up your shit, cut your heart open. Yeah, this is what happened. This is why he died. Nah, I'm throwing up everywhere. I can't even. Some tough work right there. That's why they get paid so much. Fuck it, pay them for it because I can't do it.
It's called fibroblasts. Those weren't present.
Subscribe
All I was seeing was this acute inflammatory process that was fairly well established. And that was in both the heart and the liver. What does that mean? Well, that means that, in my opinion, these injuries occurred at roughly the same time, and their age could have been as recent as 4 hours, but as old as 12 hours prior to when Corey actually died at 5 p.m. on the 2nd. That was the finding based on the histology. Additional evidence that I saw fine-tune that time frame a little tighter.
And doctor, can you tell us about the additional evidence that you saw to fine-tune that time frame?
So if you think about that time frame of 4 to 12 hours, that would have been from 5 a.m. the day before to about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 2nd. There was a video that was alluded to, and it wasn't an intentional video, and there were no people in the video. You could basically see that the phone was on a car seat or something. And Attorney Lento, have folks seen this video? Do they know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So it appears as if the phone was like on a
What's up,
car
Karen?
seat or something. And it was represented to me that this was Corey's mother dropping him off for custodial care with his father. And they were having a conversation. Well, this was at about 9 o'clock. Corey was answering questions. He was conversational. He was normal. Audibly. So if that's at 9 o'clock, the period of time of injury from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, in my mind, is eliminated. A person with these injuries is not going to be responding like Corey would in the car. So that puts us between 9 a.m. and approximately 1 p.m. I can't narrow it down any more specifically than that, but I am confident that that is the range of time in which Corey was injured.
Doctor, can you explain to the jury if there was any opinion or determination or findings that you made after review of the materials regarding blunt force trauma and CPR post-mortem?
Yes. I was specifically asked questions about that because I believe these were questions that were raised in the original autopsy report. In my opinion, given the age of these injuries, it is entirely incompatible with them having been produced by CPR, because they wouldn't have had this inflammatory response that takes hours to develop. Furthermore, I don't know anybody who does CPR on the right side of the chest.
Yeah, exactly.
CPR is done
In the
on
center.
the front of of the chest. And like I said, the anterior liver injuries, not uncommonly seen with CPR, but not an injury out on the side of the liver that goes deep into the tissue. And thirdly, I've seen a lot of CPR injuries, more in adults than kids. Adults are, they have a lot of CPR injuries because our ribs fracture much more easily. But I've seen a fair number of CPR-related injuries in pediatrics. I've never seen an endocardial or an internal laceration of the heart like this one. So in my mind, I'm quite confident that these injuries are not CPR-related.
So, doctor, you were able to determine that the injuries occurred while Corey was still alive because of the inflammation.
Oh, exactly, yes.
Did you make any findings regarding sepsis or infection?
Once again, that issue came up on the initial examination. And based not only on the autopsy findings, but my review of the medical records, there's zero, not one scintilla of evidence of sepsis or any other infectious process in Corey's autopsy.
Doctor,
Not one scintilla of sepsis. So I'm sure that's because defense was trying to propose that it was sepsis. But either way, I mean, come on. Sepsis from CPR because what? It got infected after his rib cage punctured something. That sounds like bullshit to me. Like, yeah, no, that sounds like complete bullshit. I mean, the defense got to try something, right? But again, it's all about what the jury believes, and this guy comes off as a true professional. And the jury has been believing this guy since the start, so they won. They won this round, and as we can see, they're gonna win the trial. It's like if they lose this trial, it would be insane. But anyways, let's continue. They got themselves the right witness right here. Bro has been in court more times than he cares to mention.
do you note any findings regarding stress cardiomyopathy regarding the decedent's heart?
I did.
And can you tell the jurors what stress cardiomyopathy is?
Cardiomyopathy. So cardio refers to the heart. Myo is muscle. And pathy is pathology. So this is some sort of abnormality of the heart muscle. As the name suggests, stress cardiomyopathy, it is an abnormality of heart muscle that's produced by chronic ongoing stress. It's not visible to the naked eye. It is seen under the microscope. There are well-described changes of individual heart muscle, changes in the color, changes in the way the innards of each cell look under the microscope, changes in the way that the nucleus, the nerve center of each cell looks. These findings were pretty widespread in areas of Corey's heart. Some of the findings that are associated with what's been called stress cardiomyopathy, which is in the literature, are associated with CPR because the heart is dying at that point. And some of these findings can be seen also in CPR, but the constellation of all of these findings and the distribution of them throughout the heart says to me that this is not related to CPR, but it's related to chronic ongoing stress. So while Corey's immediate cause of death
Was blunt force trauma.
was the blunt impact injuries that he sustained,
His heart went out because of ongoing stress. I thought, wait, so maybe it was the treadmill. Somebody had said that in the comments. He kept falling on the treadmill. He was being overworked. He kept falling on the treadmill, and that also caused his heart to get hurt.
day that he died. The presence of stress cardiomyopathy suggests that there was ongoing physiological stress, most likely due to ongoing mistreatment or abuse.
We now have up on the screen S97. Can you please tell the jurors what that is?
That's a very small contusion. It looks like an abraded contusion, sort of a combination injury on Corey's forehead.
And is S97 a picture? Is S97 a photograph?
Yes, it's a digital image that was generated in conjunction with the autopsy.
Okay. And can you just explain again what's depicted in S97 in the photograph?
Okay. Your Honor, may I stand? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
absolutely.
And do you have
If
like
he
a...
could come down from the witness stand, I think he's having a little hard. You want to come down from the witness stand or stand?
Well, I could point from here if you had a pointer.
I think we do, actually.
Look at him looking down, all sad. What are you sad for, you punk bitch? These have to be family members.
No, they weren't working.
Pointer is not working, so if you may
I'm a short
come
guy.
down, or
And I-
it's working? Oh, okay, we're good.
Understood. So the doctor is standing in a witness stand and trying to use a pointer to point to the large screen TV.
Sure. And this is a...
That's not gonna show.
Real professional out here in these streets. Big
it's
dog.
not gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay, doctor, if you'd like to just come down from the witness stand, if that's,
Is that good?
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Man, she's rushing him and shit. You hear the tone in her voice? She's over here trying to tell, man, let Big Doc take his time. Shit. Out here rushing Big Dog. He's the one carrying your case, ma'am. Relax.
Yes, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay, doctor, if you'd like to just come down from the witness stand, if that's,
Is that good?
Yes, sir.
thank you.
I like how he completely this is how you know he knows what's up. He completely discards her. I just like the little small things in between the court, because you know they be having their little disagreements and their arguments on the sidelines and shit. He completely discards her and asks the judge. He's like, "Hey, this is your shit. You're running this show. Can I go down?" Yeah, you can go down. It's fine. It's fine. That shit was hilarious to me.
Screen TV.
Sure. And this is a...
That's not gonna show from the screen.
Yes, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay, doctor, if you'd like to just come down from the witness stand, if that's,
Is that good?
Yes, sir.
thank
Yes,
you.
sir. He's like, "Shut up. I'm talking to the judge. Rushing me."
So it looks like we're looking at the left side of Corey's back.
Wait. Did he smile? Hold on. I need to look at this pussy ass.
I'd like
Okay.
to
hold
just
Uh-huh.
on.
come down from the witness stand, if that's,
Is that good?
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Oh no, he's just looking. Looks at him. He doesn't create any eye contact. He's not trying to be confrontational. He looks down. He looks at him for a quick second. Looks down. Looks at him again.
Looking at the left side of Corey.
And it was like a smirk. What is that? Is that a smirk? Fuck this guy, bro. And his skin is so white from not being in the sun. If you smack the shit out of him, it would leave a nice little handprint. It would leave, like, and I have calluses. Look at my hands. I don't know if you could tell. I got these calluses on my fucking hand. That shit would leave a nice little... Hey, G. What's up, Elena? Be beautiful.
His hairline is here. This is just the outer edge of his eyebrow, the left side there. And that's Dr. Regas's thumb for a measuring device. So you can see a small...
No, I think he's that white because he's in jail. He hasn't had any type of he hasn't had any type of fucking contact with the sun. That boy, vampire white.
contusion that measures, no more than a half an inch, maybe 3/8 to a half an inch away.
Can we go to the next picture, please? Okay, and can you tell the jurors what S98, the photograph depicts?
A contusion up behind...
Oh, you see the
here.
judge? He's like tanned and shit, like regular, kind of go outside. You go back to Christopher, that boy. You could tell he's going through it.
It really requires some sort of an explanation. That's
You're saying y'all don't claim them.
an injury that at least raises, it's not diagnostic enough, but it raises the question of mistreatment of a child.
And why would that raise that?
Well, because it's a protected area. It's not normally injured like in a slip and fall. Or
What's up,
down and
Lauren?
Fall against something, that it could conceivably, press your ear, hard enough against that bony part, the mastoid process there. But most of the time, at least in my experience, it's generally associated with other injuries that suggest mistreatment.
Can we go to the next picture? Can you tell the jurors what is depicted in S99, the photograph?
Just to orient you as to where we're at anatomically, this is Corey's left shoulder. Right? Left side of his neck, left ear. So there's this linear contusion, sort of brownish, yellowish contusion up under his chin. You can also see this is pretty regular. I suspect this was some sort of EKG monitor pad. So that's not an injury. See how regular that is? It's got a little hole in it. So the main thing here is this contusion under his chin.
And what's significant about that?
Well, the significance of a contusion under the chin in and of itself is very little. But in the context of examining a child with multiple injuries of varying ages in different parts of the body, particularly up under the chin and around the neck area, once again raises the question of whether or not that child has been mistreated.
Can we please go to the next photograph? Doctor, I'm calling your attention to what has been moved into evidence, S101. Can you please explain what has been depicted in that photograph to the jury?
In S101, Corey has been rolled up onto his right shoulder. So this is Corey's left
Oh, they're
ear,
showing-
back of
wow.
his head, right shoulder, left shoulder. What is being emphasized in this image are two contusions. Now, in and of themselves,
He can't. No, look at it,
this
bitch. Look at it. Look at it. He's looking away. You did it. Why is he looking away now? Go ahead and look at that shit. Fucking dumbass, bro. I could tell they were looking at something because grandma or whoever was back there was looking away. Why is he looking away?
contusion, a dangerous thing? No. But a contusion over the shoulder blade and sort of directly over the spine in a child without some sort of history of
He's not looking one time. What a bitch. You did that, bro.
It's not an area that you typically see injured in the run and play and slip and fall of childhood. It is the context, it is the pattern and the distribution that makes it an important finding.
Can we move to the next photograph?
Oh, he looked for 2 seconds.
That's giving a range.
Wow, I fucked that up real solid. He looked for 2 seconds.
Run and play and slip and fall of childhood. It is the context, it is the pattern and the distribution that makes
She actually looked. And she's not, she didn't even, you know what I'm saying? This is something she found. This is something you created. Why can't you look at it?
Can we
look at
move
him.
to the next
He looked for 2 seconds and he wiped his
photograph,
eyes like, oh my
please?
God, I can't believe it. Fucking dumbass.
That is S100. Can you tell the jury what that depicts?
Corey is laying once again on his side, and we're
Yeah, look
looking
at
at the
it.
hip area. So the buttocks would be down there. The
Look
back
at
would
it.
be up here. We're looking at a fairly broad
What a
abrasion.
bitch.
We talked a
At
lot
least
about
face it.
contusions, but abrasions are a different kind of blunt impact injury. If force
Thank
is
you,
applied
Mac.
sort of tangentially or sweeping across the skin, it can raise the superficial layers of the skin up, raspberry, right? And that's the kind of injury that we're seeing here. This is an abrasion, rather large, confluent abrasion over his hip. Again, the context is what makes that important. That's not a lethal injury. It's not a life-threatening injury. But in the context of everything else that we're seeing, it's a significant injury.
Can we please move to the next photograph? S60, doctor, can you tell us what that depicts?
This depicts a contusion or a bruise that captured a lot of people's attention. So this is Corey's right shoulder, armpit area. There's the right nipple. There's the left. Just above it, there is this vaguely patterned contusion. It's partially healed. It's fairly large, and it's in a very odd place, unless there's a good explanation.
It always beats the fuck out of me to see lawyers sit down next to their clients like this. Beats the shit out of me. I'm just like, damn, y'all really can sit next to this guy, right? Like, I couldn't do that. I guess that's why I'm not a lawyer. I'd be a prosecutor probably. But then again, I feel like prosecutors are narcs sometimes. Like they're out here just trying to put people in jail. So also fuck the prosecutors sometimes. I don't know. But defense attorney, it could be a good job. But sometimes you get clients like this, and what do?
It was valued by several care providers.
Can we move to the next photograph, please? Now we have S59, a photograph. Can you tell the jurors what that is a photograph of?
From the autopsy, the internal aspect of the autopsy. And it's a picture of the liver. And in specific, the outer right side, that lateral edge of the liver. So on the surface of the liver, what you see is this. There's a little bit of bleeding, and you can see
Yeah,
that
this is
the
probably
tissue is torn.
this is probably horrific to look at.
But Dr. Ragasa made an incision right in the middle of this injury to see what was underneath it. And you can see that all of this is abnormal. It should be uniformly this color. What you're seeing here is a fracturing or disruption or laceration of the liver tissue, and that comes when the liver tissue is compressed in some way. And as I said,
Why does
CPR
grandma
is
keep
performed.
looking though? I see grandma keep looking back. I guess fuck it. I wouldn't look. I don't know. Things stay with me, and I'm aware of that. So if I knew I was gonna be haunted by some shit forever, I would have just not looked at it. But I guess you can't not look sometimes.
In the front. It's not performed out here on the side.
Doctor, is that a significant injury?
It's not a life-threatening injury. As ugly as it is, it's not a life-threatening injury. Had Corey presented with this and nothing else, they would have probably seen it on the CT scanner. They would have put him in the hospital and observed him to make sure that he did not have ongoing blood loss, and then discharge him with some physical restrictions to let it heal on its own. So it's nasty, but it's not life-threatening.
Can we move to the next
Damn,
photo?
fuck. It's nasty, but it's not life threatening. Shit, that's a way of putting it.
Doctor, can you tell us what is depicted in S58, please?
This is likewise another internal photograph from the autopsy. In this instance, you're looking at the heart. Now, it doesn't look like any kind of a heart that you've ever seen before because it's been opened. So the heart has been opened to reveal the inner side or the inner surface of the left ventricle, the lower left chamber. What is seen here is an actual tear in the tissue. This wall should be continuous. There's a tear on the internal surface of the heart near the septum. The septum is that muscular wall that divides the left from the right side. So he's got a partial thickness tear of the heart on the left, inside the left ventricle.
Now, doctor, can you tell the jurors about the severity of the tear and the relation to thickness?
This is a severe injury. This is an injury that triggered Corey's death.
Yep. Well, I tell you,
Why?
that's what triggered his death. I feel like that's the most severe. Like if you lose blood pressure in your heart, like starting from the heart, I feel like you're going downhill like fast. Everything's gonna get starved for oxygen at that point. I mean, if your lungs get punctured, fine. Your liver gets damaged, okay, that sucks. It's bad. But your heart gets fucked. It's, you know.
Well, he didn't bleed to death. This laceration didn't go all the way through the heart muscle. It's not a hole in the heart. It's not a tear that goes through the heart. In that case, there would have been an enormous amount of blood loss very quickly, and he would have never survived as long as he did. In this instance, in that it was partial thickness, his heart could, at least for some hours, compensate for this injury. But I had mentioned the septum. The septum is where these specialized heart cells that control the rhythm of the heart live. So you've got these natural pacemakers on the upper part of the heart, and then they divide into fibers, specialized fibers that go down the septum. Disruption of this can trigger rhythm disturbances, arrhythmias of the heart. And this is likely what happened to Corey in the CT scanner, why he went into cardiac arrest.
Oh yeah, he did
With
have a heart
CPR,
attack.
they were able to restore
He did have a heart attack. I was assuming he would have a heart attack if that happened. There you go. The heart guy. I mean, what is it? Isn't the heart like one of the biggest muscles and shit? Like your main engine component got damaged. What's gonna happen? It's gonna overheat. You're probably gonna go into cardiac arrest. Damaged his whole natural pacemaker. Man, that's fucked up. Knocked his whole heart out of alignment. But trust me, when you go to jail, your paperwork gets kind of spread around. Prisoners talk about paperwork. I mean, I feel like that's the only thing you're bored, right? So what are you going to do? We figure out things to do. We figure out people to hate. We create our own groups and shit. So they're going to see his paperwork. They're going to ask him why he's in there. And when they find out, either he goes to PC or he gets really fucked up. And he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would go over the PC. He seems like the type of guy who wants to stand on 10 toes. And I like that for him. I want that for him. He's over here and look at his face, not a single tear. But he's rubbing the shit out of his face, though. Believe me, he's rubbing that face. I'm surprised his eyes aren't red by now, like really red, because he's rubbing that shit so hard.
A rhythm called ventricular tachycardia, and they ultimately could not resuscitate him from that. So that's how this injury mediates his death. It's not, trauma, bleeding, exsanguination. This is trauma. The heart tries to compensate, the heart eventually decompensates, and he sustains a cardiac arrest due to his trauma.
Now, doctor, are you able to view the inflammation which you spoke about before in that photograph?
No. The inflammatory process is something that you see under the microscope. So Dr. Ragazza took samples, well, from other areas of the heart as well, but from in and around this area. And that's where I saw the inflammation that allowed me to draw an opinion or come to an opinion as to the age of that injury.
Could we go to the next photo, please? Doctor, I'm now showing you, or it's up in the courtroom, what's been marked into evidence S-152B. Can you tell the jurors what that is?
I received this image subsequent to my initial report, but I received it in conjunction with this question about timing. We already talked about the video at 9 o'clock. It has been represented to me, and I believe there's been some sort of analysis of the photograph that indicates it was taken, on or about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you, Christina.
To me, I mean, Corey could be sleeping, but it's certainly not inconsistent at all with him already having had sustained what were ultimately his fatal injuries. And you know, he presents an hour later to the emergency room looking not much different than that, save for the fact that he was, his vital signs were unstable and his color was ashy.
So, doctor, would that photograph be consistent with your opinion regarding the timing of the blunt force trauma injury?
Yes?
Can we move to the next
So he
photo,
took this
please?
fucking picture after he fucked them up. And he took it as if it was some type of a cutesy father-son picture. If you saw this picture, you would think that, oh, look at father and son just hanging out. They're probably watching TV. No, he just finished beating the shit out of them. What the fuck? And look at the smile. Look at the little smirk. Me and my son. Me and my big guy. Meanwhile, this kid is fucked up. That's crazy, bro.
You know, he presents an hour later to the emergency room looking not much different than that, save for the fact that he was, his vital signs were unstable and his color was ashy.
So, doctor, would that photograph be consistent with your opinion regarding the timing of the blunt force trauma injury?
Yes?
Can we move to the next photo, please? Oh, I think we are done. Okay, if you could go back to the witness stand. Thank you.
Look at him smirking right now. Like, oh, I'm so sad.
Now, doctor, in conclusion, based upon everything that you have reviewed, what is your medical opinion regarding the cause and manner of death of Corey?
Corey Michelot died of blunt impact injury of the chest and abdomen with laceration of the heart, contusion of the left lung, and laceration and contusion of the liver. It's a traumatic cause. The manner of death is homicide. It was at the hands of another person. He didn't do it himself, and it didn't happen accidentally.
Thank you, doctor. No further questions.
Mr. Lucci.
All right, let's hear his bullshit defense. Oh, he ready though. He had his papers out. He's ready. Yeah, he might as well start doing the little Rocky shuffle and shit. Like, start punching the air. He's about to shut this whole thing down with sepsis. Let's go ahead and see this fuck shit.